Good evening. At the April 16th, 2025 meeting of the San Mateo County Board of Education will come to order. As is our practice, this meeting will be recorded. I warmly welcome our Youth Commission Liaison, Bethany Zhao, joining the board at the dais. I also want to welcome to the dais Marco Chavez, Deputy Superintendent, Educational Services Division, who is attending for Superintendent McGee tonight. The board provides remote access for members of the public and welcomes community members joining in person and remotely. The board is following the requirements of Assembly Bill AB 2449, which enables remote participation by board members only under specific circumstances. We use simultaneous interpretation in Spanish for those attending virtually through the end of public comment. Translation will continue further into the meeting if people are utilizing the channel. Thank you to our interpreters, Ana Cruz and Kimberly Larios, for joining us remotely. For meeting attendees wishing to access the Spanish translation channel on Zoom, please click on the interpretation button on the menu bar. We ask all speakers to be mindful of the Spanish interpretation and speak slowly and clearly. I ask board members to speak directly into the microphone and remind speakers wearing masks to remove their masks when speaking in order to be clearly heard by all attendees. Item 1B is the approval of the agenda. Before we move to motion, I'm going to ask that we keep item 4 and remove items 5, 6, and 7. Kevin Baltimore, would you like to add to that?
I'll just comment when we get to item 4.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Thank you. Thank you. There's a motion to approve the agenda as amended made by Trustee Gerard and a second by Trustee O'Neill. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 6-0 and the agenda for tonight's meeting has been approved. Item 2 is public comment. Guidelines for public comment are available on the SMCOE website and in board docs, as well as on the table outside the boardroom in both English and Spanish. If there are speakers who require Spanish interpretation, our interpreters, Ms. Cruz and Ms. Larios, will interpret following each speaker's comments. At this time, members of the public may provide comment for topics not included on the approved agenda. The County Board of Education does not act upon any matter that has not been agendized except under limited circumstances as permitted by law. It is the policy of the County Board to refer matters raised in this forum to the Superintendent for investigation and/or action where appropriate. Deputy Superintendent Chavez, do we have any comments submitted prior to the meeting?
No, no comments submitted prior to the meeting.
Thank you. Speakers are invited to make live comment and have 3 minutes to speak. The board's executive assistant, Jennifer Perna, will keep the time and advise when the speaker has 30 seconds left. Please make sure to keep within the time limits. To make a comment over Zoom, members of the public may use the raise hand feature. Instructions for using this feature are provided as an attachment in the board packet. Once the hand is raised, please wait to be acknowledged by Deputy Superintendent Chavez. Deputy Superintendent Chavez, are there any members of the public attending remotely who wish to make a comment at this time?
I don't see any hands raised at the moment.
Thank you. Members of the public may also provide live comment in person. Deputy Superintendent Chavez, are there any submitted cards?
No submitted cards.
Thank you. Public comment addressing a specific agenda item will be heard after the board's questions, comments, and discussion on the item. If members of the public wish to speak to a specific agenda item, please use the raise hand feature when the item is announced, or if in person, submit a card in advance of the item. Item 3A is the April 2025 Employee of the Month, Luz Arriza, Administrative Assistant 1, P3 and Early Learning Services, Educational Services Division. Will Luz please join me in the middle of the room? So each month, the board and superintendent recognize an employee for providing outstanding service. For the month of April 2025, we recognize Luz Arriza. Am I saying that correctly? Yes. Administrative Assistant 1, P3, and Early Learning Services, Educational Services Division. Luz joined the county office in November 2022 as an Administrative Assistant 1 and has consistently impressed her team with her innovative thinking, proactive attitude, team-oriented approach to work, and unwavering commitment to excellence. According to her team, Luz has made an innate ability to think outside the box. She recently introduced a creative solution that not only enhanced processes, but also has the potential to drive significant project improvements. Her team manages multiple state and local grants, which impact quality learning experiences in early learning spaces for San Mateo County's earliest learners. After completing her MBA, Luz collaborated with the quality improvement team and led the creation of a process to track funding and deliverables. This allowed the team to focus on current projects while forecasting upcoming needs and potential funding, which has been invaluable to their success. What sets Luz apart is her proactive nature. She anticipates needs, solves problems, and ensures that the team remains on the right track with local grant reporting. Luz co-led the Q2 fiscal performance reporting process, communicating with community partners to collect, analyze, and input fiscal and performance data. As a result of her initiative, the team was able to complete and submit reports ahead of the deadline. Luz is highly skilled at collecting and analyzing community partners' fiscal data. Her expertise has been pivotal in executing complex reporting tasks with precision and efficiency. Beyond her technical skills, she is skillful in building strong relationships and fostering collaborative, positive environments with the internal team, as well as the quality improvement and family engagement partners. She has played an instrumental role in the success of Friday Cafes in our county, an initiative that convenes family and community engagement professionals. Her creative thinking related to outreach, together with her relationship building skills, have led to an increased number of participants at our monthly cafes. Wow. Additionally, she led the effort to collect and analyze feedback surveys, which are key to keeping this initiative relevant and meaningful. Luz continuously seeks opportunities to improve and embrace and responds to feedback. She is a standout team player, always ready to lend support, offer insights, and contribute to the success of her high-performing team. We are proud of our County Office of Education staff and are pleased to recognize Luz Arriza for her outstanding work. Congratulations to Luz for being named Employee of the Month for April 2025. Would you like to say a few words?
Good evening, members of the board and coworkers. I would like to take a moment to sincerely thank you for this recognition. Being selected as Employer of the Month truly means a lot to me. I'm grateful to be part of a supportive team, and it will not be possible without the collaboration and encouragement that I receive for all of you each day. I also want to thank my family for the constant love, support, and understanding. Their encouragement keeps me grounded and inspires me to do my best every day. Thank you for believing in me and motivating to keep learning, growing, and contributing to our shared success. I truly appreciate this honor. Thank you.
Is that your family? Can we take a picture with her family? Your family can come up for a picture.
As well, the three of you, or?
Thank you and congratulations. For item 4A, the board will open, examine, and declare all bids received for the lease of the 1800 Rollins Road site, as well as call for oral bids. Before we begin, are there any comments from the public?
No comments.
Thank you. Deputy Superintendent Baltima.
Good evening, Board President Torres, members of the board. Unfortunately, I need to report that we did not receive any written bids by the deadline of noon today. Furthermore, we did not receive any notice of any verbal bids either. So at this time, we don't need the additional items on the agenda. Administration will go back, we'll work on this and then bring this back to the board at a date soon because we would like to put that property in play for some revenue.
Awesome. Thank you, Deputy Superintendent Baltima. So now we move over to item 8A. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the April 2nd, 2025 regular board meeting as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. There is a motion to approve the minutes of the April 2nd, 2025 regular board meeting made by Trustee Alvaro and a second by Trustee Gerard. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 6-0 and the minutes of the April 2nd, 2025 regular board meeting have been approved. Item 9 is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is not debatable and requires a unanimous vote for passage. An item may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular order of business for separate discussion and action if any member of the board, the superintendent, or the public so requests. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. There is a motion to approve the consent agenda made by Trustee Gerard and a second by Trustee Alvaro. Is there any? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 6-0 and the consent agenda has been approved. For item 10A, Kevin Baltima, Deputy Superintendent, Business Services Division, will present the public disclosure of the compensation adjustments for San Mateo County Office of Education, confidential and management employees for 2024 to 2025. Deputy Superintendent Baltima.
Again, good evening. We are providing this as an informational item, noting it is for unrepresented groups, so the language looks a little bit different. It's not a negotiated settlement. We're reporting the fiscal impact to a compensation increase for an unrepresented group. The settlement itself is for a 3.5% salary increase effective July 1 of 2024. It also increases the health and welfare contribution consistent to what we've done with our teacher group at $1,300 per month for an individual and an individual plus one at $1,650 per month. The total cost of the agreement in the current year, 24-25, is estimated to be $939,491. And that is about it. And we, both the superintendent and I have to sign off on the agreement that the organization can't afford it. We do think this is best practice. Again, it's not a requirement, but many of our districts do this, so they actually are legally required to do it. And we feel like we should be doing it in an effort of being transparent with the cost to our constituents. So with that, I'll open up any questions.
Are there any comments or questions from the board? Are there any comments from the public?
No comments from the public.
Thank you. There is no action to take on this item. Thank you. Item 10B is superintendent's comments. Deputy Superintendent Chavez, do you have any comments to share?
The comment this evening is to wish 3 people a happy birthday. They'll be celebrating birthdays this month. Board President Hugo Torres will be celebrating his birthday on April 25th, the day of our study session. Also, Superintendent Nancy McGee will be celebrating her birthday on April 29th. And Deputy County Attorney Elisa Cho will be celebrating her birthday on April 30th. Happy birthday to all of you.
Thank you. For item 11A, the board will discuss a suggested protocol for community members and groups seeking letters of support. Deputy Superintendent Chavez.
Yes, thank you. Board President Torres and Superintendent McGee recommended establishing a clear process to ensure timely and efficient handling of requests from community members and students asking board members for support on a particular issue. The protocol was drafted with the intent to promote equitable access and ensure alignment with SMCOE's vision, mission, and priorities in our strategic plan. The draft protocol is presented for you to review this evening and to solicit your feedback.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions from the board? Trustee Alvaro?
Thank you. This looks good. I had just the comment under the review process somewhere. I don't know exactly where in there. That I would suggest that we check with the trustee whose area it is to see if there's any info or considerations that might be germane to what's happening. And then it can move forward to, however it goes with, through the president to just check in with that trustee.
Other comments or questions from the board? Trustee Lev? Oh, could you turn on your mic, please?
Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Do unofficial letters go to the full board as well under this?
If that's the desire of the board, we can do that. I can ask that question also since to the authors of the draft.
Maybe I was just misreading it. It wasn't really clear. It's a category, but it just said types of letters. So
Trustee Alvaro?
Thank you. And that's a good question. I think what we've done in the past and what I feel comfortable with is unofficial letters come from us as people, not as, we don't state that as members of the board. So, if a student asks for a letter of recommendation for college, it's not going to come to the whole board. I'm going to write a letter of recommendation and say, yes, I'm a Calian Board of Ed member, but I'm recommending the student, me, not the board. So I think that's what we've done, is if it's coming from the board, we bring it to the whole board. But if it's coming from you as a person, there's no reason to have to do that.
thank you. I assume that just the way it was written, it was just sort of in the middle there.
And Trustee O'Neill?
In one spot here, there is a thing where we're requesting a 15-day application period. In my other day job, I have received requests from a school district to get letters of support from state senators, et cetera, and they needed it the next day. So for a grant that they suddenly heard about and thought they could get. So I don't know. I don't know if we really want to have a 15-day hard deadline for that. And how could it be handled?
Do you have a different proposed time frame?
Maybe I can't find it. I know it's in here. I read it, but I can't find it right now.
It's on the first page.
Yeah,
It's
it's on
on
the
the first
first
page?
page at the bottom.
Yeah.
At the
Oh, okay,
bottom.
15 business days. Maybe submit something in there, preferably 15 business days, but what would be a good alternative?
Trustee Lev?
Well, could you have it just be signed, a letter that goes to the board president to make a decision on? The letter would come from the board president as opposed to from the whole board, and it could be maybe decided more quickly if it's just a quick support letter and with the support of, if it's in somebody's area.
What, and also it would have to fit these guidelines. I'm not saying something.
Youth Commission Liaison Zhao?
I was just wondering if your concerns would be addressed by the line that says, quote, urgent requests may be considered on a case-by-case basis.
I guess that might work, sure. Because they requested a 2-day turnaround is the only issue. And the 15 business days, I think, might be kind of onerous in some cases, that's all.
That makes sense.
So maybe to Trustee Lev's point, if it's an urgent one, maybe we follow that protocol that you named. Trustee Benini?
Just further to the language about urgent requests that's already in the draft. My question would be, what does that process look like? So maybe we need a little more language around what the urgent request, like if it could be, like Trustee O'Neill is mentioning, if it could be as quick as, 2 days or 1 day, or if there are further limitations on that, and what would be the process? Because it would be a different process.
Right, and then like what constitutes urgent, whether it's like the topic, the timeline, or other criteria?
I mean, from just thinking about it, it seems like it would be noted as urgent. It would go to the board president and the superintendent, and then there would be a discussion around it. I don't know if that would enable it to be approved by the board. I think that's probably the 15-day origin, right? So that there's enough time to bring it back to the board. But yeah. that's my-
Maybe if it's urgent, it's more hands on deck, like a collaborative approach with board president, vice president, and designated area trustee.
So what I'm thinking is we'll take your suggestions. We can add language and then possibly bring it back.
Yeah.
Trustee Benini?
It could be something like, if there is an urgent request that doesn't fit within the timeline to be approved by the board, that there's discretion that, we give to the board president and the superintendent to make that decision in a urgent manner. I feel like certain things, it would be okay, and, others, and you'd be able to know that in that review process, but having more information about it would be helpful.
I agree. Trustee Alvaro?
Thank you. So I can't ever recall us having an urgent request come, but that doesn't mean it won't, and it's good to have it in here. But a couple of times things have come up where something needed to be done, not a letter of support, but something else needed to be done in a timely manner. And what's happened is the superintendent or council sends out the letter or the request to the whole board and says, if you have an issue, get back to me, and otherwise we're moving forward with it. So I'm not exactly sure how that works, but it seems like we could very easily move something forward quickly if it had to be done quickly. We just haven't had a lot of need for it.
Yes, and it would just be outlining what that would look like. Are there any other comments or questions?
I don't know. I think, we're all adults and over 21 and no one's going to send out a letter of support for the Nazi party or something. So I think just the board president with consultation with the superintendent would be fine in an urgent request. I'm talking.
Other comments or questions? Are there any comments from the public?
No comments from the public.
There is no action to take on this item. For item 11B, Lisa Cho, Deputy County Attorney, will provide information on the board policy regarding student trustees.
Good evening, Board President Torres, members of the board, Deputy Superintendent Chavez. We had a request for an informational item for the board to discuss the process for selection and appointment of student board trustees. So I've prepared a very short slide presentation just to take a look at our board bylaw 9150 as well as Education Code 1000, which is what our board bylaw is based on. I did want to note for the board that as we recall, for those of us who did this very extensive board policy overhaul in the summer of 2023, the board bylaw that we have in effect right now, 9150, was enacted at that time. We do need to go and take a look at updating that for 2025. Trustee Love did point out to me that I think in late 2024, Congress passed a bill that allows for student trustees to receive compensation if the board so desires. The way that our current board bylaw reads, though, it says that student trustees shall not receive compensation. So we may want to take a look at that when we do our overhaul and updates of our policies this summer. So let's just go through a few slides and then we'll reserve some time if there's any questions from the board. Okay, so Board Bylaw 9150 for student board members sets out this really great purpose for having students as important members of the board is to enhance communication and collaboration between our county board as well as our student body. To teach students the importance of civic involvement, the county board supports the participation of high school students in county board governance. Education Code 1000 allows for a student who is serving as a board member to receive elective course credit for their service at the board's discretion based on the number of equivalent daily instructional minutes for the student board member's service provided throughout that year. So Board Bylaw 9150 and Education Code 1000 has a very interesting process called the petition for appointment of a student board member. I don't think that this process has been used in San Mateo County as of yet, but this is a process by which high school students may submit a petition to the county board requesting the appointment of at least one student board member. I wanted to point out that Ed Code 1000 is very specific, that we're talking about students who are attending high schools that are under the jurisdiction of the county board, which would be our court and community schools. And then there's other language in this section that talks about students that are enrolled in the high schools under the jurisdiction of the school districts within the county. So they make a very specific distinction between those two groups of students. So to qualify for consideration, a petition, such as the one mentioned here, must contain the signatures of at least 500 students or at least 10% of the number of students regularly enrolled in the high schools under the county board's jurisdiction, whichever is less. So we're talking about only those students that attend the court and community schools may put forth a petition like this. So interestingly, depending on how many students we actually have enrolled in a given year, if we're looking at 10% is the lesser number, a petition could be brought by 2 or 3 students. It really could. And so within 60 days of receiving a student petition or at the next regularly scheduled board meeting, the county board shall order the inclusion of at least one student member on the county board. So who are we appointing if a petition comes? Where a petition has been filed in this manner, then the student that is selected to serve as a student board member must be enrolled in a high school that is under the jurisdiction of the county board. So we would be including a student that's enrolled in a court or community school. They may be less than 18 years old, and they shall be chosen by students enrolled in the high schools of the county in accordance with procedures prescribed by the county board. So it's a very interesting process where we've got a student who gets selected out of the court and community schools, but the students that are casting the vote for who gets selected are the students of the high schools in the county, all of our school districts. If no petition has been filed and the county board has discretion, they may select either a student who is enrolled in a high school under its jurisdiction or under the jurisdiction of a school district within the county. So we've got a little bit more leeway as far as who may be appointed to serve as the student board member, and said student again may be under 18 years old. The term of such student member shall be 1 year, commencing on July 1st. However, the county board may adjust this term if there's any sort of vacancy or in order to provide more students an opportunity to serve on the board. When we have student boards members appointed to the board, the county board may periodically provide information to the student board member in order to give them an understanding of what this position entails. Once chosen or appointed, incoming student board members shall be provided an orientation that's designed to build their knowledge and understanding of the responsibilities and expectations of this position. The county board also has the option of providing ongoing learning opportunities, so you can invite them to different trainings, workshops, conventions, conferences that board members themselves attend to enhance their leadership skills and county board responsibilities. So we've got a whole list of what a student board member who is appointed to our board shall do. They shall have the right to attend all county board meetings except closed session. They have the right to receive all materials presented to county board members except those related to closed session items at the same time that the rest of the board receives the items. They must be invited to attend staff briefings or be provided with a separate staff briefing within the same time frame as the briefing for other county board members. They are recognized at county board meetings as full members, and they are seated with other members of the county board. They are allowed to participate in asking questions and discussing issues, and they are allowed to cast preferential votes on all matters except those subject to closed session discussion. So that preferential voting means that they have a formal expression of opinion on a matter that's before the board, but it's not counted as part of the actual vote itself. A student board member may be appointed to subcommittees of the county board in the same manner as regular county board members are, and they shall be made aware of the time commitments required to participate. They also have the right to decline. We are recognizing that our high schoolers often have a very heavy academic load and may not have the time available to attend subcommittee meetings. Student board members shall be invited to attend functions of the county board, such as forums and meetings with students and the community and other general assemblies. And they are entitled to be reimbursed for their mileage to the same extent as other members of the county board. When we have student members seated with the board, they shall not be liable for any acts of the county board. They shall not be considered members of a legislative body for purposes of the Brown Act. And they are not counted in determining the vote required to carry any measure before the board, and they are not counted for determining whether quorum has been met. And then, as we pointed out earlier, that the board has the option to determine that the student board member should receive monthly financial compensation in addition or in lieu of elective course credit based on the number of hours they spend for their service. So when we have county board members seated, if there's any issue or at any point the board determines that the student board member's duties are not being fulfilled, the board has the option to appoint another student to serve out the remainder of that term, and then they would extinguish the term of the outgoing student member. And then once established, the student board member position shall continue to exist until the county board has an action item and takes a majority vote to eliminate the student board member position. And this is a motion that needs to be put on the public agenda, and it has to be discussed at a meeting. My understanding from the history of our student liaison or the Youth Commission liaison position that's been created here in our county was that this was a pilot that was introduced in 2019. And the process that was enacted at that time was very similar to the Education Code 1000. And we have our student liaison appointed to the board. And the board at that time recognized once we create the student position, it's going to remain until we take action to eliminate it. So then the question here would be, now that we've enacted the newer 9150 bylaw, moving forward, how would you like to proceed with appointing and selecting student members to the board? And that's kind of just the overview of the law. If you have any questions, I'm open to discussing those. Yes.
Trustee Alvaro?
Trustee Alvaro.
Thank you for this. My question is, if we would consider having a student from our own court and community schools, which is a fairly small demographic, as the voting, non-voting, but as the seated member of the board, would that preclude still having a liaison to the Youth Commission?
No, I don't think so. Ed Code 1000 is very clear that the board has the option to select more than one student trustee. So if you wanted to have inclusion of both the student liaison as well as a court and community student, I think that would be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Love?
I don't know if this is as much a question, but I think this is really interesting and something we should really look at. And Santa Clara does have a student from their court school who joins not on camera via Zoom. And Sacramento County Office has a former student who they do pay and who actually serves sort of as a liaison. So I think there's a lot of options. I don't know if those are things we could look at, but it seems like an area we might need to do a little studying on.
Yeah, I took a look at both of those scenarios. And so for the situation where you might have a student who may be in custody and is unable to attend in person, you can have the option of have them Zoom in for the meeting. I think that's a wonderful way to encourage inclusion and participation in these meetings. As for the Sacramento County, how they were able to appoint that individual who is no longer a student, I want to do a little more digging into that because I went back to the Ed Code and it was very clear that it's the student board member needs to be someone who is currently enrolled in high school. And so I don't know whether they might have passed a resolution just for that special purpose of being able to appoint someone who was a former student and who could act as that very critical, connection between the student body and the board. So I thought that was a very unique opportunity that they had created up there. Yeah.
Trustee Bonini?
Thank you for this presentation. I am curious, I have a few questions. One is, it might be a question for the, not a legal question, but like for the board in terms of how we would share the information with our student population that this is a possibility, right, to do this. So that would be some sort of communication. I do think the opportunity for it to be a credit, related item is really intriguing. And I think from my perspective, when we first started talking about this, and I think with other members of our board then, we were really interested in having somebody from a student from our schools. I love Susan's question about whether we could have both from a relationship with the Youth Commission, because I think that's very important as well. But my question is, the process on slide B under the second, slide 5 under the second bullet, whereby we would appoint a student from a different school if we didn't receive one from our schools. I'm not entirely clear what that would look like either. Could there be an outreach? It's not, you clarified, which I wasn't sure of, that it wasn't subject to the petition process. And so those are just some questions that I have, like maybe it's that the other districts that are counties that are doing it, we could look into that more.
Yeah.
But that's also interesting to me.
Yeah, the Ed Code says that in the absence of a petition, then the board has the option to select either from students attending high schools in our county or from the Corton Community Schools. I suppose we could have a weird hybrid situation where you have a petition from the Corton Community Schools, but then the board would also like to have a second in a student liaison position continue. I think there's openings for the board to decide both if they wanted to have multiple different opportunities for students to come and participate. As far as outreach, I mean, depending on the board's pleasure, if you wanted to do, information available on the website and then maybe allow the teachers and administration at the Corton Community Schools to advertise this opportunity to students there, that this is a chance for you to be able to have your voice on the board and then earn credit at the same time. That might be a really great way to do outreach to those students.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Mhm.
And then my other question is, I know that the population of students in our schools isn't consistent and they may, not be there the entire school year, some maybe. And so it seems like the ability to adjust the term is covered with that, so that, if we knew that a student, for instance, wasn't going to be there the entire year, that could also be communicated, and maybe there's 2 students in the queue or something like that.
Yeah.
Like the goal from my perspective would be to actually have a student from our programs consistently, but obviously there could be gaps. And
Yeah, and I think that
might be-
flexibility of filling in, if you have a student who's unable to fulfill the rest of the term for whatever reason, they've gone back to their home school or whatnot, then there is that option to select another student from those programs. Or, you could also open it up to that student going
Right.
back to their home high school.
Ah,
Would you like to consider continuing to serve the board for the remainder of this year? That might be a really good perspective, to have a student complete that program and then go back to their home school.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So it seems like the current language of the policy provides for the flexibility
Yes.
that would require. Okay. So those are all my questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Other comments or questions from the board? Bethany?
I was just wondering if the petition has any other requirements, or is it literally just signatures?
That's a good question. So the education code says that the board is the one that sets the actual procedures for how it's going to, what's going to be required of a petition, how it needs to be submitted. I would imagine it's not going to be as onerous as what the elections code requires of political candidates. Maybe we just make it, somewhat simple for them. Maybe there's an online platform where people could submit petition signatures. That's really up to the discretion of the board as far as how they want to take in those petitions.
Okay, that
Yeah.
sounds good. I think it'd be great for the board to perhaps come up with more specific requirements for the petition and maybe even draft a petition to facilitate the process for students.
Yes, I also agree. And I think also keeping in mind the students we're serving, so making sure that that process is equitable and accessible and doable. Thank
Any
you,
other
Bethany.
questions?
Yeah,
Good. Okay. Thank you.
thank you. Are there any comments from the public?
And no hands raised.
Thank you. There is no action to take on this item. For item 11C, the board will discuss and act on the participation of board members in the 2025 National Association of Latino Elected and Appointed Officials, also known as NALEO, their conference in Atlanta, Georgia, from July 22nd through the 25th of 2025. Deputy Superintendent Chavez.
Yes, thank you. So Board Bylaw 9240 states that the board approval is required when board members want to attend an event out of state. Board President Torres and I believe Board Member Arias have expressed interest in attending the 2025 National Association of Latino Elected and Appointed Officials Conference in Atlanta, Georgia, July 22nd through the 24th of this year. President Torres, do you have anything else to add?
Yes, so I've been to my fair share of conferences. NALEO was a group presented to me by former board member Camacho, and he spoke very highly of the group. And so I trusted his judgment and attended my first conference last year. And it's honestly one of the best conferences that I've attended in terms of content, in terms of the connections with other elected officials, just throughout the US, and building strong connections with those in California, who I still am connected to this day. And it was as a result of the development and networking at that conference. And so I would say that this is a very beneficial conference, and just the people that are running it and leading it and participating in it are amazing people. Are there any comments or questions from the board? Are there any comments from the public?
No comments from the public.
Is there a motion to approve the participation of board members in the 2025 NALEO conference?
So moved.
Is there a second? Thank you. There's a motion to approve the participation of board members in the 2025 NALEO conference made by Trustee Benini and a second by Trustee Gerard. Is there any further discussion? Trustee Alvaro?
I just had a quick question. Generally speaking, when we do something like this, we approve it for a specific board member or two board members. And so it would seem, rather than just saying we approve it for board members to go, that we should approve it for specific board members to go. You made the motion, yes?
Yes.
So I'd throw that back to you.
Okay. Can I amend my motion?
Yes.
I move that we approve the attendance at the conference for
Trustee.
Trustee Arias
Trustee Arias
and
and our board president.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the participation of Trustee Arias and myself, Board President Torres, in the 2025 NALEO conference made by Trustee Benini? Oh, wait, sorry. Is there a motion to approve the participation of Trustee Arias and myself, Board President Torres, in the 2025 NALEO conference? Oh, that's right.
Yep.
I apologize.
No.
There is a motion to approve the participation of Trustee Arias and Board President Torres in the 2025 NALEO conference made by Trustee Benini and a second by Trustee Gerard. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 6-0, and the board has approved the participation of board members, Trustee Arias and Board President Torres in the 2025 NALEO conference. Thank you. For item 11D, when an ad hoc subcommittee meets or a representative attends a meeting related to their given assignment, board members may choose to bring a report to the board at this time. Would any board members like to report out? Trustee Love?
Yes, on the advocacy subcommittee. Hopefully everybody saw there is a meeting on Monday, April 21st at 6 o'clock on Zoom. And that is the kickoff of our sort of adequate funding initiative. And Deputy Superintendent Bultema is going to present, kind of get everybody on the same page, there's a lot of people talking about things and it's not always the same thing. So we'll hopefully get everybody level set. So that's what we're working on. And we didn't have a meeting, so we did not get the opportunity to take up legislation that other board members had suggested we look at.
Thank you. Trustee O'Neill, would you like to add?
And I believe we're going to be recording that and have it available. Kevin, is that being recorded so that or another, if somebody missed it, they can watch it before the next meeting?
I'm not aware we're recording that. So that's new information for me.
We talked about that at the maybe we'll have to talk about it at the subcommittee meeting.
Are there any other subcommittees or representative? Oh, yes, Trustee Benini.
I have a question. Not being on the legislative now advocacy subcommittee, I forwarded a request for just review. So we haven't gone through that process before. So I'm just curious if that's the appropriate process or how you're doing that. If a board member requests that you look at it as a committee, is that the right thing to do? That's the question.
Trustee Lev.
Yes, actually, we had that on our agenda to look at that at our meeting that was scheduled for yesterday, but that meeting didn't happen, so we didn't get a chance to look at it, but we had shared it with people to look at it.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. So to make sure I was following the right protocol.
Thank you. Other comments or questions for the advocacy subcommittee? Any other report outs? Are there any comments from the public?
No comments from the public.
Thank you. There is no action to take on this item. For 11E, the board will discuss topics for future board agendas. Would any board members like to discuss agenda items? Agenda ideas? Yes, Bethany?
I think it'd be great if we could get started on drafting the requirements for the petition and maybe drafting a petition that students could use if they so choose as well.
Thank you. Other ideas? Trustee Lev?
It's not so much an idea, but and I did share this with Superintendent McGee that we may have an interdistrict appeal coming up, and it would probably be good for new trustees to get a little bit of a boot camp on what that is so they don't go into the process not fully understanding what to do. So hopefully we can set something like that up.
Other agenda ideas? There is no action to take on this item. For item 11F, board members will comment. Trustee Alvaro?
Thank you. First of all, I want to express that I'm so happy we still do Employee of the Month. There was a time that Mr. Ryder will remember that one of our former superintendents wanted to do away with it. And we said, oh, that's a bad idea. And you see what happens. You see the morale booster. You see how, I mean, it's not much for our effort, but it means so much to staff to be recognized. So I'm just so grateful we still do that. And I just wanted to say that. I put at your places a lovely decal that came from the city of Half Moon Bay. And looks like this. It says, "We all belong." This, I did go to the first nonprofit day on the coast on April 5th, which I said I was going to do. The attendance was a little light that day because people were otherwise engaged, but there were still a lot of people there. And it was a good chance to network with the nonprofit leaders, the movers on the coast, all the way, Pescadero, all the way up, who are right in the middle of this stuff that we're talking about. And who are doing some amazing work to support our families, our community. All of us are affected, some more than others, and they're just doing an amazing thing. So I was really grateful. There were 32 nonprofits represented, and I was told that they actually had a waiting list. They had to turn down some people because they ran out of room. We have a very small community center in Half Moon Bay. They ran out of room. And so they're thinking next year about actually going to a slightly bigger room. I don't know, IDS Hall or something. But It was wonderful. It was uplifting. It was a chance to say to people who were really feeling a little bit battle fatigued that there's a lot of us out there who know what they're doing and who approve and who support them in any way we possibly can. And the decals were handed out, they're printed by the city, and they say we all belong, and it shows our mountains and our ocean. And I wanted to share that with all of you because it really touched me. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Alvaro. Trustee Bonini?
Thank you. Thank you, Trustee Alvaro, for the decal. It's lovely. I also want to, again, recognize our Employee of the Month and just congratulate her. It's just amazing when other staff shows up to support, and, you know, people have teary, and, you know, it does mean so much. So it was very nice, and congratulations to Luz. I also wanted to thank the board and the superintendent for putting on the consent agenda the National Teacher Appreciation Week, which is one of my favorite weeks, always has been, because it's celebratory and honoring the hard work that teachers do all the time. But I used to participate in that as a, you know, PTA member, and I think probably some of us, others of us did that as well. And it's just such a special week. So thank you to all the teachers. And then also for the mental health awareness resolution, because that's so important. And I'm not serving on the commission anymore, but I'm hoping I can get a hold of some of those green ribbons and swag that I used to, you know, bring to the meeting. So anyways, thank you to everyone for approving those. And that is all.
You are also now a teacher, so we get to celebrate you in another way. Trustee Lev?
Thank you. So on the subject of the resolutions, I also appreciated the Foster Youth Awareness Month resolution and the Deaf History Month. I think the Deaf History Month is a great way to recognize the amazing SMCOE staff who do this work. We had the opportunity to visit a classroom in our Early Start program, and it was amazing. So it's a nice call out to them to recognize that. And then I visited the Lost Childhoods art exhibit at the Redwood City Library. If you haven't been there, I highly recommend you go. It's very moving, and you kind of say, gosh, what can I do? And then there's a board of all these things you can do, from baking a cake to making a donation to becoming a CASA volunteer. So it was just really nicely done. And those are a lot of students who have probably come through our program. So I recommend that. And that's also, we had the Foster Youth Month on our resolution. So that was a nice intersection. And just one other thing, well, two other things. I did get the chance to go to Arroyo and Mariposa Upper Elementary Schools. I was looking at them for the Kent Awards, and it was so uplifting. Like going in there, I got to be in, I went to both actually, I went twice. And because they invited me, and it was great to see the students involved. They, in one school, the fifth graders had written stories about natural disasters, and like I wanted to stay and listen to them. They were so good. And the teachers were just absolutely pro the way they worked with students. And then at Mariposa, there were fourth graders, and they were planning a museum, and it was amazing. But just the kids, every child was engaged. If any of those kids had IPs or anything else, or I would never have known, everybody was just fully engaged. It was really uplifting. So I just wanted to share that. And I did go to the CSBA County Board's governance workshop. I liked that it was really just one day as opposed to like something that dragged on for 3 days. That was a nice piece, but a highlight was really connecting with other county board members. And that's where I got some of the ideas on how they engage youth. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Trustee O'Neill?
I also attended the same meeting up there in Sacramento. I also was just reading a statistic, and there's a lot of discussion in Washington regarding the Medicaid. And I just read a statistic from AFT that Medicaid is the fourth largest source of funds for K-12 education in the United States. And it's over $7 billion that is on the chopping block. And that supports a lot of the special ed programs, including special equipment for wheelchairs, medical equipment, medical transportation, and also pays for a lot of the specialists such as audiologists, speech therapists, etc. So as we watch the dramas continue in Washington, we should be aware of the direct effect it will have on our students here on K through K-12. Thanks.
Thank you. Youth Commission Liaison Zhao.
Around 2 or so weeks ago, I had the chance to go to DC with the Close Up program, and I just had an amazing time there. One of my favorite parts about the program was actually meeting with other kids from around the state because what Close Up from around the country, because what Close Up does is that they try to bring people together who come from different backgrounds, who might believe different things. And it was just so great to meet people who have different backgrounds from my own. And what really stood out to me was that even though we live in such polarized times, we were still able to have a lot of really open and respectful conversations. So that was just one of the highlights of my trip. And as for the Youth Commission, we'll be having our annual showcase on May 22nd. So as of now, we're currently wrapping up some of our final initiatives. My subcommittee is working on 2 resolutions. The first one is to shed light on whippet abuse. Whippet is a drug that's often sold in smoke shops. And what we've been seeing is that sometimes in the county, underage people are able to access whippets, and it's very, very detrimental to the health, both physical and mental, of young people. So our resolution is basically just calling for increased awareness on this important issue. And our second resolution is on teen dating violence, which is something that I'm very passionate about and I'm hoping to spread more awareness about. So for these 2 resolutions, we're hoping to eventually present them to the Board of Supervisors. So that's something that'll hopefully be coming up. And I received some very exciting news a few weeks ago, actually. I applied for the State Commission on the Status of Women and Girls Youth Advisory Council, and I just found out that I was appointed to this commission, and my first meeting is going to be in May. So I'm super excited for that.
Are we invited to the showcase?
Of course.
Yeah. Could you send that information over to Jennifer?
Sure, I'll
And
do
if she
that.
could send that to us. Thank you. Vice President Gerard.
Thank you very much. Well, happy birthday to all of our April birthday people. I hope you enjoy your days. Birthdays, I think, are super special. So I always want everybody to be able to enjoy what I call their special day. Also, I couldn't agree more with Trustee Alvaro and Bonini about Employee of the Month. And those of you that have seen me up here many times, I say over and over and over, it is my favorite part of the meeting. And it has been and probably always will be my favorite part. So I really am truly grateful for that. And I am so happy that everybody brought up the resolutions in the consent agenda. When I read through it, I thought, wow, this is really a powerful consent agenda. This isn't just your run-of-the-mill. There are some really important, powerful things here that we're recognizing. And I think that is very, very important because I think sometimes, especially county boards, the things that we do and the things that we recognize kind of get lost. And I really think it's important, if we feel it's important, to let others know that we do and to react on that. So I'm very happy to see that. I don't always feel that way, but I sure did this month. And I appreciate the fellow board members for calling it out. Also, I wanted to invite all the board members to a training that ACCBE is doing on April 28th. It's a Monday evening at 6 o'clock. And we've been working really hard on it. And it's on really board relationships. We're calling it boardsmanship and boards culture. And when we really started diving into that and looking at it, there's lots and lots of things involved that I don't think all of us think about all the time when we think about boardsmanship or the culture of a board, and how important it is for all of us to get to know each other. We sit here at board meetings twice a month and say, hi, how are you when you come in, and bye, see you when you leave. And many times there's not a whole lot of conversation in between. And I think I have felt over the years that it's important to get, I think, to know each other better on a personal basis, not just as a board member. So we're going to be talking about that and lots of other things. So I really hope that you will all be there. And with that, I'll say good evening.
Thank you. My birthday's so special, I get to spend it with all of you. Trustee Alvaro, thank you for the sticker. I do have
Yes, thank you very
um,
much for this.
commitment issues with stickers, so I will carry it, but I can't commit to posting it somewhere. But I really appreciate it. I save all the stickers. I can't do that either. I was also able to attend the CSBA County Board Governance Conference in Sacramento. I appreciate CSBA's attempt in hearing the concerns of county board members and what they wanted to see. I do feel, having been at other conferences when I first joined, I do feel that it still wasn't providing what new board members would need. And so I'm hoping that there was feedback given to them. I know there was a survey that was sent out, and hopefully they really take that into account in planning for the next one. I also hope that ACCBE can do, I know they have, but
We are.
expanding on what was already done to further enhance that and build on that board membership and board culture. And those are all my comments. So item 12 is the adjournment. The next regular meeting is the board study session on Friday, April 25th, 2025 at 12 p.m. This meeting is now adjourned.